Welcome to What Bugs You, an informative show about pests in and around your home. This show is produced by Protect Termite and Pest Control to help you better understand the nature and habits of those seasonal pests and what steps you can take to prevent or eliminate them. You can find more helpful information at whatbugsyou.info. And now, to get us started on today's topic, is the host of What Bugs You, Stephen Dodge.
Well, welcome. Today's show is kind of exciting. We're going to talk about something that destroys homes, and that's the termite. You know, termites will do more damage to American homes than wind, fire, and storm all combined. We have a special guest today, Jim Selno, one of the owners of Protect Pest Control, and over 35 years experience in the pest industry, certainly an expert in the world of termites. He's made thousands and thousands of inspections on termite inspections where people buying and selling homes that were done for real estate transactions. He's kind of seen it all. So we're going to chat with him a little bit today, find out a little bit of things, what the homeowner can kind of look for, and keep your eyes open for termites. And maybe when you see something that we've shared with you today, you'll make that phone call and not try to assume that you might have ants versus termites. And we'll chat a little bit about that as we go through it. Well, Jim, thanks for coming to the show today.
Thank you, Steve, for nice
I think you have a lot of fun. And one of the things, they talk about a part of the termite colony that's called the swarmer.
Correct.
Can it be misidentified, and how is that?
Yeah, it sure can. This time of the year, early springtime, termites go through a swarming process, which is their mating processes, which is the time of year that a male and a female will get together and have offspring. Typically, swarming termites will be in hundreds of thousands swarm at a time. Typically, they'll swarm on the inside of a house where it's warm, the south side or the east side of a home. They'll come up out of the ground, they'll mate, they'll shed their wings, and they try to find their way back into the soil and start a new colony. If they swarm on the inside of a property, they're never going to find their way back outside, and they'll just usually dehydrate and die. And that's typically how a homeowner will find the swarm if it's on the inside of the home. They'll see the wings, they'll see the dead termites, and they know they have a problem. If they swarm on an outside or exterior of a home, chances are a homeowner, unless they're right there to witness the swarm, they're not going to be able to see the swarm. The swarm will disappear, they'll go back in the ground again, and the homeowner will never know that they're there. Ants also swarm, but the way you tell the difference is the ant has three distinctive segments to the body. They have the abdomen, the thorax, and the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. And they do not shed their wings when they mate at this time of the year. But the termite's body is torpedo-shaped, it's jet black, and that's the main difference between the two. A little more depth, the termite will have two sets of exactly the same size wings, and the ant typically has two sets of wings, one smaller than the other.
Along with this swarm that occurs, there's a shelter tube that they have to build. Are you able to find that sometimes that the homeowner can keep his eyes open? What does it look like, this shelter tube they call about?
Termites have to stay sheltered. They're not an insect that can be walking around and just like an ant would be streaming up the side of a wall or something. Termites have to be inside of a shelter tube, which is made out of mud, hollow on the inside, and it sort of looks like a little pencil going up the side of a wall. It's that colored mud. It stays moist in there. They have to have constant humidity, so the termite will travel from its colony, which is deep in the soil, up to its food source. It could be a door frame, it could be a floor joist, it could be any number of things that contain cellulose that is the main food source of a termite. And they have to travel inside these tubes in order to keep the moisture content at a constant level. And if a homeowner is walking around the property, they can see these pencil-like tubes going from the ground to something, either under a siding or to a fence post or something. And that sort of should give you a little suspicion that there's something going on there and needs to be checked.
Now, I know over the years when you've made inspections, you've probably gone in houses where you go, my gosh, there's a lot of mud tubings and they're really obvious, and you wonder why the homeowner didn't even see those tubes. Sometimes they're just a small thing to find. Sometimes there's a large number, and you start to wonder, they're not sure what that is. We are going to put some pictures up for our viewers so that they can see some of the things that we're talking about that'll help you understand how prevalent some of them can be. What are some of the critical areas, Jim, in a home where mostly you'll find termites they'll come in, the entry points they come in?
Termites, again, they like to stay hidden. They don't like to be out in the open, so you're going to find them in places where typically you don't visit. Under front stoops. A lot of homes are split level, where you walk in the front door, then you go down the stairs, and there's a void or a space or a crawl space sort of underneath that foyer of the front door. And if you go underneath there and look directly behind the front stoop, that's where the termites are going to be. You're going to see them up high on the floor joists, right under the rim joists, or right under the sill plate area. Termites will typically spend their time underneath the front stoop, and then they'll come into the house from there. Another good place you'll see them would be in crawl spaces, an area of a home where very few homeowners will inspect. It's a small, low crawl area. Termites love go inside there. The soil is right there. There's no concrete or anything covering the soil to stop them certainly coming up, building these mud tubes on the side of the foundation up to the floor joist or rim joist or subflooring there. And they will build these shelter tubes everywhere they need to go. They'll just keep building them. They really don't know where wood source is. They can't really smell it or see it, but they just build these mud tubes all over until they find a food source. They'll stop the mud tube at that point and get into that food source and start eating.
All houses are constructed different. There's split levels, there's crawl spaces, there's slab homes, and they have all different configurations of construction in those homes. Are some more vulnerable to termites because of that construction, or conditions that make it more vulnerable for them?
Sure. We'll talk about houses that have conducive conditions. Entry points where termites will come from the soil into the home. Most homes have what is called expansion joints. It cracks. It's where a concrete slab in a basement where it pours up against a foundation wall, an exterior foundation wall. There has to be a space called an expansion joint crack right there, because a slab will expand differently than the walls. So that space goes right down to the soil beneath the home. Termites will come up through that expansion joint crack, even behind a finished wall. That crack is still there on a completely finished basement. They'll come up behind that wall and get into the structure, almost completely invisible to a homeowner. And sometimes to a trained inspector. Can't even see behind the walls to know the termites are back there. In basements, that's one place where conducive conditions would be that expansion joint crack. In the garage is also a lot of areas in the garage where it is conducive for infestation of termites, and again, that has an expansion joint crack. The same thing with a solid foundation wall, or even a block foundation wall, a concrete slab is poured in the garage. There is an expansion joint crack all the way around the three walls in the garage. Termites will come up that expansion joint crack and get into the house that way. Another area is where the garage door frame is sitting on top of that expansion joint crack on the frame of a garage door. They'll come in underneath that expansion joint crack, come into that garage door frame, and they can work their way all the way up to the attic inside of a home like that.
Wow, I mean, there's a lot there to look at with consider. I know that sometimes there are people have taken their carports or their garages and they've built a floor and finished it, and they raised that floor up. Does that create a problem for termites?
It creates a problem with two things. It creates a problem for termites. The termites love it. It creates more of a problem for an inspector, the homeowner, to be able to see that expansion joint crack and to see where termites will come up through that expansion joint crack. It's typically called a sleeper floor, which Steve was describing, is where you walk down into a garage or into a carport from the living level. And a lot of homeowners want to make that one level, so they'll build up that garage floor or they'll build up that carport floor to make it even with the rest of the home. And there's a big air gap or a space underneath there that makes it impossible to do an inspection. Termites will get inside that area and cause all types of damage to that structure of the main support beams for that sleeper floor. It's very difficult to inspect a home that's constructed like that.
How would you inspect that? I understand that there are termite dogs, that are canines that can locate pests or problems like that?
There are. There is a canine detection, scent detection dogs that will smell the pheromone given off by a termite, and they are very good at detecting termites in areas that are completely inaccessible, where a trained inspector like myself could not possibly see behind a wall or see underneath sleeper floor or expansion joint cracks in a basement that are completely finished. And the canine will, go around the home, the edges of the home, and do what he's trained to do, is to pick up on the odor of a termite and alert an inspector or a homeowner that there is termites present. And once that happens, then we know we need to do a treatment for termites.
I understand there's two types of methodology of treatment. There's a chemical type treatment, and then there are baiting programs treatments.
Yeah.
What are the pluses and the minuses of those type of technology?
Okay, back in the old days, we didn't have what's called a baiting system as we do today. It was a liquid barrier method of termites, is where we would dig a trench around a home, pour liquid termiticide around a home, and create a barrier. The termites would come up to that barrier, and the theory was they're not be able to penetrate through that barrier to get into the structure. But there's a lot of problems with liquid termiticides, and so as the years went on and companies progressed into what's called now a baiting system. And the idea behind a baiting system is the termites are constantly randomly feeding in the soil. They'll go all directions. They don't know where food is. They just basically travel in the soil and find food source. So the idea behind a baiting system is to put these bait stations around a structure, whether it's a home or a carport or a garage or what have you. And the termites, as they're randomly foraging, will hit one of these baiting systems, get inside the station, feed on the bait, take the bait back to the colony, and eliminate the colony. That's a very, very effective method of treating. You don't have the hundreds of gallons of liquid termiticide being poured around the structure. You have very small amounts of bait in each bait tube and each bait station around the home to be able to eliminate termites.
Well, it sounds like the baiting system leans very much to a green type of program.
It does. It is environmentally safe, it's sound, it's a much better comprehensive treatment to get rid of termites. It is just all around safer for the homeowner, for the technician that's installing it. If you have children and pets, I mean, there's a lot of negatives around pouring liquid chemical around a property versus a baiting system.
It appears to be a little less inconvenience for the consumer, because it sounds like with the liquid treatment there'd be more work involved for the consumer.
With the liquid, you do have to not only treat the soil, which is difficult in itself by digging a trench around a home, but you also have to drill holes in a garage, in a front stoop, in a finished basement. If the termites are found in a basement, you have to pull carpet up, pull up tile, drill holes all the way around the outside walls of a home, seal the holes back up again, and lay back down a carpet or tile. It's a lot of work, and with this day and age, it's really unnecessary when you do have other alternatives to take care of termites and to eliminate termites through the baiting system.
Well, at least we've given our viewers an option that there are two methodologies, and they can certainly choose the one that fits their particular construction of their home, their convenience, and how they want to protect their home from these devastating termites. They can do so much damage to the American home system.
The way the Protex baiting system works, it is a chitin inhibitor. It stops the termite from being able to molt. If they can't molt, they can't grow larger, and they will die. Without the workers in the colony will crash. They won't be able to feed the queen, and the entire colony will collapse, eliminating that particular termite colony from affecting the home. And so chitin does not affect humans. It doesn't affect pets. It's very safe for the environment, and it's specifically designed to affect and control and to kill subterranean termites.
Funding for this program is provided by Protect Termite and Pest Control, the only pest management company in Northern Virginia with both bedbug and termite detection canine teams. Using detector canines to quickly pinpoint infestations and employing the latest pest management techniques, Protect can help you control and eliminate pests with a minimal use of chemicals. For over 25 years, Northern Virginians have protected their homes and property with Protect Termite and Pest Control. Additional support is provided by Dogtopia, offering open play dog daycare, overnight boarding, and spa services. Convenient live webcams offer a peek into your dog's day and peace of mind that they're having the time of their life with their canine friends and Dogtopia's well-trained, loving staff. Every dog is unique, especially your dog. You can trust your precious canine family member to the loving care of Dogtopia's experienced staff. Find more information about Dogtopia at dogdaycare.com.
Earlier, we were talking a little bit about termite baiting as a methodology of controlling for termites. Well, once termites enter into the structure and they become visibly inside the home, there are stations that can be applied directly onto the visible entry points where the termites have entered the home. As you can see, that is a cinder block wall, and you'll see a crack across the seam of that wall. And that's how termites enter. They can't come through concrete or block, but they can come through any crack or entry point that becomes visible. As you can see, the termite tubes came in, and that's a shelter tube that's built on the foundation wall. That's their temperature-controlled environment that they must live in. We don't see termites crawling around out like ants or any other type of insects. They live within that dirt, and that's where they get their name subterranean. So when they do that, we can take that box, which has the termite bait in it, apply it directly to where the termites are traveling. They'll go in and feed on that lunch box, and they'll take the material out of it and take it back to the colony. And that enables the colony to be fed, and they can assist us in getting the product to them. And as you can see, that bait box was installed directly into wood that has been damaged severely by termites. And you can tell how they're running through the grain of the wood and the amount of damage that they cause. It's amazing. Now, unusually to see something of this magnitude, where you're seeing multiple stations being applied onto a brick wall. That wall happens to be the fireplace in the basement of a home. And for termites to get that many tubes, for a homeowner to not see that is really unusual. You're just going to usually see one termite tube, and that's going to be the extent of it. You'll just see one tube going up the foundation wall. That's an extreme case when you're seeing that many going up a wall with a bait tube on it. Fascinating thing about termites and how they enter into a home. There's different types of homes. There are basement homes, and there are homes that have crawl spaces. This is a crawl space home. You can see the gravel, you can see the dirt, and that foundation wall is a solid pour wall where the termite tube is coming from the ground and foraging upwards towards the structure of the home, where the sill plate, the rim joists, the subflooring, and these availability of these pictures, you'll see that. Now you're seeing where the termites have reached up into the rim joists and the subflooring, and that's the insulation that's been pulled back. A lot of times you have the insulation in your crawl space, and you go up underneath there and look into your home, and you don't realize because it's being covered by the insulation. This is where I was able to pull the insulation out of the way and made this more visible for an inspection. And this is the kind of devastation that termites can do to a home. Same activity that's going on there. Now, one of the other indicators termites is in the springtime, we have something that's called a termite swarm. Right at the front door or the garage, you'll see this a lot right at the front door. There's usually a large stoop at the front door, steps going up to the front door. When a builder builds his home, before he caps that front stoop, he'll throw trash in there, wood debris, and other cellulose material. It's dark, it's damp, wet in there. It's a perfect place for them to start feeding. And once they've had the cellulose material in that stoop, they'll start moving towards the house. As you can see here, they have moved towards the house and gone up into the actual door frame, and you'll see the black winged reproductive swarmers lying there at the front door. They have swarmed out. That tube you see in the picture going up to the door, that's where the workers have built that tube for the swarming, or a swarming castle for them to swarm out of. And you continue to see that. a little closer shot at it. Now, as you come in that front door, into the living room, you'll see where that's the fireplace on the second floor or the main level of the house. Underneath this is a basement. And you'll see where the damage is to the baseboard there. Let's go up and look a little higher. You'll see where the termites have come from the baseboard, tunneled up the brick of the home until you got more tubing going up a little higher in the house. Beneath this, what we just looked at in the basement, now we have the termite tubes in the basement. That's just below the fireplace we were looking at the front door. That's the kind of activity that's come in from the front door area. Obviously, these termites in this particular home have been here for some time and really have shown some real growth. You don't really often see this much you can see the width of that termite tube. That's usually where you're going to have more activity. It could be think of a highway with double streets or two-lane highway. There's a lot of activity going in there with a mud tubing of that large size. To the left of that, you'll see a smaller tube. There's not as many termites traveling through that one. That's a main thoroughfare with the termites passing through that area there. This is a massive amount of damage. When you're seeing the termite tube splitting the wood like that, all this is severe structural damage in a home, and that's about what they can do. As you know, termites can do more damage to American homes than storms, fires, and earthquakes combined. We don't think of that so much in the nature because we always hear on the news of all these others. We don't hear that much about the termite damage that's done to homes. And you can insure your home against the other national disasters, but you can't with termites. They can't insure a home. Why is it's because insurance companies are not able to underwrite the risk of the amount of damage that they can do. That's why it's important to have an annual inspection, a professional come out, look at the house, and make sure that these visible signs are not showing. These extreme cases that we've shown you in the pictures, certainly you're able to find those. But I'm going to be able to show you some smaller areas where they're a little tucked in behind furnaces. An area or a smaller amount that would go undetected by a homeowner, that you need to have a professional be able to find that tube. And sometimes those tubes are only 1 inch, 2 inches up. They don't go the full length of the wall. And it's a smaller amount to see. We talked about that front door. And sometimes when you come in your house, you go to the basement steps, you walk down the basement steps from the main level, you get down to the bottom, and you look right up above. Usually that's where the front stoop is outside. Look up at the ceiling, and you'll see little brown tubes coming out of that white ceiling. That is a termite tube popping through the ceiling, is showing you that they're up behind the sheetrock and into the floor joist area. These are things that we have to watch very close. And you'll see those little dots. Sometimes the dots are so small you would not recognize it, but your professional inspector would. Just a little dot like that can be hard for the consumer to determine that that's a termite problem. And that's why you want to have it constantly looked at. And a lot of times I've had homeowners tell me, well, I have a brick home and I have a cinder block home. Well, as you can see, a termite tube can pop right through the mortar joint of a brick if there's a little separation there for them to come through. They're looking for cellulose material, and a cinder block wall has voids in it, and they'll use that void of a block as an elevator shaft to just tunnel themselves up to the sill plate that sits on top of that cinder block wall for the foundation. So you can see how much devastation they can do. And also we talk about termites, and that is a wood-destroying insect. But there's another wood-destroying insect that we need to keep a close eye on, and that is called the carpenter ant. Now, the carpenter ant is the Pennsylvania black ant. It's a very large ant, and it also does damage to wood and homes. The difference is termites will eat the wood for nourishment, for survival. Carpenter ants are only building a nest out of the wood. And that's where you'll find sawdust. You'll never find sawdust with termites, but you will with carpenter ants. You can see how they'll get into a moist area and pile up the sawdust. And that sawdust is where they have carved their nest out and discarded the sawdust so they can build their nest. And they like to have an area where there's a lot of moisture. It's softer on their mandibles. They'll go into a solid piece of wood, but boy, they'll just love to have a piece of wood that gives them the opportunity to build that nest. It's softer wood, spongy-like. They can pull it out and then drop down those sawdust that you're seeing. Now, sometimes you'll find them both in there. Sometimes you can find a little termite damage with the carpenter ants. But a lot of times they're doing their damage in an area that's mostly moist areas. You'll see those piles of sawdust where the carpenter ants are working diligently for. So I hope as we kind of chatted with some of these things and kind of outlined for you the importance of having a professional licensed inspector to be able to determine some of the problems you have. Sometimes they're very obvious. Sometimes it takes a little bit more inspection. And I've had cases where I've had to squeeze into a real tight area just to find that termite tube that's a quarter of an inch up from the crack that it's popped through. That would be hard for a homeowner to locate that. So the advice that we always want to extend out to help the homeowner to protect their investment, to protect their home from devastation of these wood-destroying insects, carpenter ants, and termites, is to have that professional look at it. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching the show, and we look forward to many other ways of helping you in our educational programs that we have.
What Bugs You? An informative show about pests in and around your home, produced by Protect Termite and Pest Control to help you better understand the nature and habits of those seasonal pests. Remember that you can always find more helpful information at whatbugsyou.info. Tune in again when we'll show you exactly what you can do to prevent or eliminate what bugs you.